Hello everyone, it's Astronomic here and welcome to another episode in my weekly Team Talk series. Today I'm afraid you're going to have to put up with me eating ice cream halfway through this because I'm in a very strict time scale right now. I am currently in the process of packing my bags, ready to go to EGX tomorrow morning. So everything's a little bit panicked and I'm a little bit struggling for time, and I have to get this room recording done, and I also have to get my Saturday recording done because I'm going to be away all weekend whilst packing, whilst eating my ice cream. So it's a little bit chaotic. I apologise, but we'll get through it. So today what I figured was I'm going to continue with the Team Talk series, and I'm going to give you some more ideas. Today we're going to cover hero triggers. I'm going to really, I think I'm quite proud of myself here. I'm going to call it tactical triggers because I think that sounds pretty catchy. So it's tactical ways that you can use your triggers, alternate ways you can use your triggers, and combos for your triggers as well. So hopefully you will at least be able to get a little snippet of advice from this. We're going to look at a couple of heroes, we're going to look at their triggers, and we're going to analyse them, and then I'll do a little bit of a dungeon run where you can see some combos in action. So obviously all the heroes, everyone has one hero trigger. If you don't know what I'm talking about by a hero trigger, it's the ability that you actually manually trigger yourself. It's the one that you press on the hero and they will activate their skill. So for an example, like in the case of Kyra, we have Slaughter, which attacks random enemies 5 times with furious speed, dealing physical damage. So what I want to talk about is I want to go over some of my popular heroes, some of the ones I've covered in my hero showcase, go over their triggers and show you that there are actually alternate uses, and also to show you that there's combos as well, some really useful combos that you can use to your advantage. So let's jump in. Let's look at Kyra first. The first example of Kyra is Slaughter. Like I say, attack random enemies with 5 times with furious speed, dealing physical damage. At face value, this looks like a pretty self-explanatory. Just use it, DPS boost, fantastic. But you can be really tactical with this because not only does it do a lot of damage, it also makes a dart across the battlefield. So therefore, you can actually use it to evade damage on Kyra as well. So if she's running low on health, you can trigger it, and it will allow her to avoid perhaps not as much range damage, but she'll certainly avoid a lot more melee damage. And it may also mean that she can lose aggro on certain mobs, so they can go on to another member of your team, which can be quite helpful. So like I say, if you're aware that Kyra's taking a lot of heavy damage, you might just want to hold off on your Slaughter to a convenient time, or you might just want to pop it straight away just to reduce the aggro that she's getting, and take some damage off of her as well. So that's the first example. Now, what else we got? Renpour is another great example. Renpour, his shapeshift ability, it gives him extra HP, extra armor, and it's an interrupt. So because you've got 3 things there, you've really got to be careful when you're thinking about when to use Renpour's ability. The first thing to consider is the increased HP and armor versus being in melee. So if Renpour is sitting there at ranged and he is just dealing some nice DPS, he's not taking any damage, and your front line are doing pretty well, like they're holding up okay, you're probably actually better not shapeshift him, because if he shapeshifts, he'll go into melee, he will start then taking damage as well, and he may actually get DPS down, which you'll then lose one of your main DPSs. Conversely to that, if your front line are taking a heavy amount of damage and you need to distribute the damage a bit, you can use shapeshift so that he'll go into melee and he will take some of the aggro off the enemy team. The other thing to consider is the HP and armor increase, whether he needs to be healed right now or whether you should just hold off and wait till you can get a full boost from it. And the final one is the interrupt, because sometimes you might not need any of the above, but you might need an interrupt. You might have someone on the enemy team at the front line that you need to interrupt their skill, and you need to stop them from getting it off, in which case you can use shapeshift. The only thing to bear in mind with this, of course, is the interrupt doesn't actually work after the first use, so if he's already in bear form, he won't interrupt. He'll just literally get the HP and armor increase. So they're things to consider. Sometimes he needs the HP and armor increase, sometimes he's better off sitting at the back where he's not taking a lot of damage. A boss fight is a perfect example where normally it doesn't really matter where he is in the boss fight, as long as someone's taking the main focus of the boss, he will take the same amount of damage regardless, so in which case you're probably better off turning him into bear form so that he can get the extra armor. But like I say, if your front line's already taken damage and is pretty comfortable, then you might want to just let him hold back and just be a little backline DPSer. That's Remport. Another one is Brute. Let's have a look at Brute now. Okay, so this is Brute. Living Vines. It's an interrupt. That's it, point blank. So your interrupts, you're going to be really tactical. This does so little damage that it is not worth using it for the damage, really, unless you absolutely know 100% there's going to be no interrupts anyway, so just use it for the extra bit of DPS boost. I would always hold off on it and try and use your interrupt really tactically. If you time your interrupts really well, Brutes does have a little bit of a delay to it, a little bit more than others, but if you're really quick in places like Expedition, for example, which I'll try and cover in my Expedition video, he can interrupt some really big players in the Expedition. For example, Fantis. He can interrupt her minion summon if you're really on it with the reactions. So that's a prime example of when he can really come into his own, because a manual trigger interrupt is so useful. It really is so useful. Now the next one I want to talk about is one of the combos that I use, or I used to use, sorry, as I was doing Expedition. If you're progressing through Expedition and you're struggling, and I'm going to cover this in my Expedition video, then this should help you out a lot, because you'll be able to see some of the combos that will get you a little bit further and that will help you out. So with Fantis, we have Raise Dead. Raise the dead behind random enemies to attack them. Now, as I talked about in Fantas's Hero Showcase way back, I think it was my second ever video, I talked about the fact that this changes the aggro pattern. So if this is summoned behind the enemies, a lot of the enemies will turn around and face that one, which in the case of Dean, for example, if you're facing an enemy Dean, that's really useful, because it means that his blades will go backwards rather than at your team. So that's a good example. And that's why this ability, if you're using Fantis and Dean in the Expedition, they're really useful, because although Dean's trigger is absolutely fantastic in the mid game, it does tend to aggravate enemy Deans quite a lot. So you will quickly find that the enemy Dean fires straight back at you. So what you want to do is you want to minimize that, so you can summon Fantis' minion, turn them all around, and then use Dean's attack to showcase that. So let's jump into a quick battle. Let's see what we can find.
The dragon inside has awoken.
I want to get some with a few that you'd like to interrupt. I'm going to use this opportunity to have some more of my ice cream while I'm searching, so sorry guys, but ice cream's calling. Yeah, let's go with this one. We got an enemy Fantis, so that's perfect. What we'll do is we'll pull loads of our team out, because we want a friendly Fantis, so you can see that. Brute, Rempor, and I said about Kyra as well. That showcases everything that I've just talked about, all of the above. Let's see how this goes. Could be a little bit too easy, but we'll see. I hope you're all jealous right now, because this ice cream is really good. It's a McFlurry from McDonald's. Not that I'm doing any brand promotion or anything. Or other brands of ice cream are also available. But this is good. So we're just getting the triggers up. Come on guys. Kyrie's going to be ready first. So you can see Kyrie's getting, well at that point she had 3 enemies on the back line of attacking her. But if I got an interrupt there from the enemy Rempor. He's showing how you use the Rempor ability to good advantage. But if I use that, it gets a little bit of aggro off her. They focus on the other enemies for a bit. Now moving through. So, for example, if I press Fantis now, summon the Fantis, Kyra's obviously already focused them, but this minion would be getting the full amount of the damage now. And then we use Dean's ability to trigger. If that was an enemy Dean on that team, he would now turn around. You can see Devia here turn around and using it, and it's exactly the same. He would turn around and use it on the entire back line, which in this case would be just Kyra and the summon. If you haven't got Kyra, even better, because it's just on the summon. So it just keeps all your team nice and safe, so that they're not taking any damage. Finally, let's try and do some of the interrupts. Now this requires some serious skill, which I'm probably not going to accomplish. But you basically need to watch Fantis for when she does that. And did I get the interrupt in time? Yes, looks like I did. There you go. So if you're really quick with your reactions, you can interrupt Fantas's summon with Brute. He does literally just have the capacity, but you've got to be very quick. And let's just finish this off. Renpour gets the stun in. And Dean. Come on. God, this team's slacking. There we go. Okay guys, so there we have it. That was the little bit quick of a short episode on tactical triggers and how to use them to your advantage. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will shortly be recording my video for Saturday, so stay tuned for that. I won't be here on Saturday, but my video will be. It will be coming Beyond the Grave. So I hope you enjoy that, and I will catch you next week for my next episode. Catch you later.